And we are live. Good evening, everybody. For those of you that figured it would start at 6, welcome aboard. If you're waiting until 6:05, as it says on the call sheet, then we'll be greeting you in about 5 minutes. So in the meantime, we're just going to say hello to everybody. And this is Nicole, for those of you that are here the first time.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Power Hour.
Yes, welcome to the Power Hour. And I'm Dan. I think you can see the name tags on the screen here. But anyway, I am Dan. And Melly's on board. See, I knew it. I was right. There would be people that would figure it started at 6, even though I didn't hit the right button. So welcome aboard, Melly. I saw that beautiful picture of my great-granddaughter playing with her. What do we call it? Is it a chicken or a duck, or what is that animal? Does anyone know?
I'm sure she does.
But it was fun seeing her playing with that. That was just wonderful.
I loved the when she opened
Fishy,
it.
okay.
Just kissed it.
Yes, yeah, that was great, wasn't it?
So cute.
So yes, and we're filling a little bit of time because I want to wait for 6:05 in case people do come on afterwards. I don't want them to miss the most important part of our Power Hour tonight. It's interesting that I'm seeing a lot of different radio programs using the name Power Hour for their shows. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we had a wonderful time for our family's Christmas party.
Yes.
That we do as a tradition a week or 2 or 3 after Christmas. And every year the family group grows. And as we talked about at the party, you get to have, you have 2 families, the one you're born into and then the one you choose.
Yes.
And so my daughter keeps bringing new family members into the Christmas party, which I think is wonderful. And each time a new family member joins, they comment on what a great idea it is to do Christmas after Christmas.
Yes.
My wonderful daughter, has this thing where she doesn't let anyone help her with the meal. She has to do the whole thing herself.
And people brought things. I let people bring things.
Yes. And I even was talking with somebody today who was saying, I tried to help and she wouldn't let me. But it was a wonderful evening. And of course, the main thing for Christmas is to get family together and especially for the children, right? And all the children had just a wonderful time. And I think it makes it great that they get to have another Christmas on top of the ones they have on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve for families that do that. And somebody else mentioned, I'm going to save this for a couple more minutes because there's some other parts I want to add about it. But it was a wonderful evening, and Nicole is such a wonderful host, and she just makes everybody feel so comfortable. And there's Richard had a great time. Yes, good. I'm glad to hear it. And he's such a good young boy. He is very special. Richard had a great time. Yes. And Aurora and her fishy. I was sharing with everybody that where I work, they had a row of dolls, or these kind of, I don't know what you call it, a plush toy or something. But they had a whole section of them, and every time I'd walk by them, I would see her name on it. I just knew that was for her. So Kate said one day, "Have you thought of something for Aurora yet?" I said, "Yeah, don't worry about it. I got that all under control." So it was very nice and wonderful. Absolutely. So we're starting in our new year. This is what, the 3rd week now of the new year, right?
Yes.
And she tries to eat it. She tries to eat everything. Are you kidding? Yes, she tries to eat it. But yes, and that's what they do at that age. So yes, it was. So we're in the 3rd week, and I'm wondering, it'd be nice to see some comments in the comment side about what are you working towards this year?
You're still a minute before. Hold on.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah. But just for food for thought for those that joined in at 6:05, what are you working towards this year? Now I know Melinda has a very special goal of getting her family to Cooperstown, right? That's a baseball tournament, isn't it? That's going on, or is it just visiting the Cooperstown Museum? Yeah, Cooperstown. But is it just to see the museum, or is it there a baseball contest going on too, or exactly what's happening with that? I don't know, but I'm sure she will. Yes, baseball tournament. That's what I figured. Yeah. Okay. So that's a very special thing, something that Richard will never forget for the rest of his life. And yeah, Richard will play for 7 days. That's what I thought. Yeah.
An interesting fact about it is that they're all going to be staying in a dorm
Yeah.
with a team without the parents. So it's awesome.
Wow.
So it's like
How
boot
nice
camp.
is that, right?
Yeah.
And Cheryl adds that they're also buying a house. Has that been put into place? Have you made
That's
an
a goal
offer on
for
a
the
home?
year.
Huh?
I think it's a goal for the year.
A goal for the year. Awesome. Yes, absolutely. And that's a wonderful goal and something you all really deserve to have. I know that that's going to happen. I have no doubt that by staying positive and just yes, it's a goal. Absolutely. And staying positive and trusting in the Lord, we know everything will work, right? Absolutely true. All right. So we are at 6:06. So those of you that joined in at 6:05, welcome to the Power Hour. It was supposed to start at 6, but I didn't hit the right little thing when I darn it, son of a gun. Thought I got past that, right? So I wanted to start the Power Hour tonight with a story that most of my family has heard already, but for those of you that haven't heard it, I want to add a little more specialness to it. But as I've mentioned on this broadcast before, I am currently still working, and I work at a Best Buy as a cashier, right? And I had a young lady come up, an older lady actually, come up to me and purchase something. And after we finished the transaction, she just stood there. And it felt like she had something she wanted to say, right? So I'm just looking at her and just letting her have their pause. And then she said, "I'm waiting for my doctor to call me to tell me if I have cancer." And of course, I could feel the fear that she was holding on to, right? And throughout most of my adult life, I've had people walk up and share things with me that they've never shared with anybody. Just walk up and boom, out it goes, right? And I consider that to be a gift from God that they just felt that it was comfortable for them to share and that they really needed to share, right? And that was the case with this young lady. She's just so you could feel the fear, right? When she was standing there, you could feel it. And I've told the story on here, I believe, about, that I walked through cancer and it was a melanoma. And I always downplayed it because I didn't think it was very serious because it's just a little thing on my back. And well, it wasn't a little thing, but, and they cut it out and everything was fine, which is true. But melanoma kills. And I have to own that and recognize that that's true. But what I said to her was, well, that's very funny because the very same thing happened to me. I was sitting in a Thai restaurant eating my favorite Thai dish by myself, and my cell phone rang, and it was my doctor. And the doctor said, well, he says, I'm not going to give you the good news, bad news thing. The news is that you do have cancer. And we have to schedule an operation for you right away to remove to go in through the back and remove a sizable chunk of the back and take a lump out of the groin, a lymph node out of the groin to see if there's any cancer there. And so we're going to schedule that right away. And my immediate thought when I got off the phone with the doctor was, if we caught it early, problem solved. And if we caught it late, problem solved. If we caught it early, everything's done and taken care of. If we caught it late, there's nothing to do anyway, so it's solved, right? There's just nothing to it. And she said, "Oh my God." And I said, "That's right. It's up to him. It's not up to you. You don't have any choice in the matter, right? If you've got it, you got it. And whatever the course the Lord has for you to deal with in that journey is what's going to happen. And whether you go with a sense of peace and joy and happiness, or you go full of fear and scared to death and woe is me and all of that stuff, it's still going to go on the journey it's going to go on, right? That journey is already done. We're just going to walk through it. So as I'm sharing this with her, you could just see her get lighter and lighter and happier, right? And I reminded her, what good is being afraid that you have cancer? What is the positive about that? Nothing.
Right.
The only thing that's going to happen, I'm playing with my screens here to see which one looks better. Then we'll go with that one for now. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to cause more tension within your body. Your muscles are going to clench up because you're so afraid, right? Your thoughts are going to turn negative even more. None of those things helps with healing, right? And so as we're talking, and you can just see her getting lighter and lighter, she said, "Oh my God, I just simply have to turn it over to him, don't I?" I said, "Yes, that's exactly right. Your responsibility at this point is to give your body all the positivity you can give it, right? Positive eating, get some exercise, play games, watch movies that make you laugh, do all of those things. That's what she's responsible for, and what each one of us is responsible for, right? Is if we're having dis-ease in our body, we also have dis-ease in our emotions, and we have dis-ease in our mind. So our responsibility to our wellness is to supply the mind, because we're not mind, right? What are we, Nicole?
Souls.
Soul. That's right. We are soul. And our responsibility in living our life through our soul is to simply love.
Yes.
Just love. That's all the soul wants. The soul doesn't, the way I understand it, the mind and the soul, when we come on this plane, the mind and the soul intertwine. And then our mind starts taking over and starts running everything, and the soul gets squished down and you don't hear from it anymore, right? Until we awaken. And when we awaken, we start to realize that the mind hasn't been our friend. I was sharing that with a young lady that cut my hair today. I know there's not a lot of it left, but I still
You get a price reduction?
I should, right? That's a good one.
Just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's true. There's not a whole lot up there, right? But what I got. Anyway, I was sharing with her about the fact that, yep, see, it just went. It just totally went. What were we talking about before you rudely interrupted me? Do you remember? It went for you too, huh?
The soul. I know that. Oh, you were talking to a young lady when you went to get your hair cut.
Yeah.
About the soul.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Anyway, it'll probably come to me at some point as we ramble on, right? But yes, the whole purpose of our being here is to remember that we are soul. And the more that we learn to separate from the mind. Oh, that's what it was. The mind. We were talking about how if you had a person in your life who was constantly belittling you, telling you how stupid you are, how ugly you are, and where all the bad spots of your body is, where it doesn't look the way you think it ought to look, and was constantly telling you that you can't accomplish that. What do you think? Are you crazy? You can't do that. If you had a friend that was talking to you that way all the time, what would you do with that friend, Nicole?
I'd say, thanks for your input. That's a lie. You got to
Yeah,
go.
gotta go, right?
Yep.
You wouldn't have a friend like that. That's not a friend. That's an enemy. That's somebody that's out to destroy you. And it kind of goes back to what we've talked about Jeffrey Dahmer, right? Is that Jeffrey Dahmer's mind took him to a place where he had the logic that it's okay to eat human beings, that it's a good experience to have. See, and that's the mind is capable of doing that and so much worse if we don't train it and we don't arrest it, right? Like you would a criminal. It's criminal what my mind used to do to me. I use the saying all the time about the huddled masses live in quiet desperation. And I can remember so well the desperation that I lived in when my mind was running the show, right? It was just absolutely horrible. I would take me hours to go to sleep at night because my mind was constantly feeding me all that garbage, right? And so the more I open up and talk about this with other people, it's amazing how many people can relate to the huddled masses living in quiet desperation. How many people can relate to the critical mind that they've got that's constantly badgering them with all that negativity, right? Now, let's face it, we all make mistakes. Well, Nicole doesn't, but I still do, right? You too? Oh, okay. So we all make mistakes, but it reminds me of Aurora. She's learning how to walk, right? And she's crawling and she pulls herself up even on my leg the other night, right? Just last night, Saturday night, and just pulls herself up. And if she falls down, she doesn't sit there and tell herself how stupid she is and how bad she is or anything like that. She just gets up and tries it again, right? But us adults, we've left our minds so untrained for so long that it's just automatic that we say that we allow the mind to say, oh, look at you, you stupid idiot. You tried it and you couldn't do it. What were you thinking? And you never try again. That's what happens to people. They start to go after their dream, whatever it is, whether it's a relationship or a business or a new job or a new home or a new car, whatever it is they want to go after, because they've been conditioned by their mind that they are not worthy and not capable and not good enough to have the things they want, that the minute they start to try for it, the mind automatically starts to sabotage it. And because most of us weren't trained that you can change your mind the way it thinks, you get that beating. And it goes back to that old saying of mine that the beatings will continue until your attitude improves, right? So
Sorry. I
No,
was
go ahead.
just going to ask, so what is the trick to changing that?
Glad you asked, Grasshopper, but we'll get to that in a moment. Because most people on the call already know what that answer is, right?
We want to know.
We want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Back to the young lady in the store and why this is a really important part of the story. After I get done explaining to her what her role is in this journey of cancer that she's walking through, and she gets to remember that it's not up to her, it's up to God how all this works out, she said to me, God put you in exactly the right place in this store, because the way you talk to everybody, this has to be the most wonderful spot in the entire store. What a nice thing for her to say, right?
Yeah.
But more importantly than that, and that alone was all I needed was soul food, right? That just fed my soul, and it was like, oh my God, that makes up for all the BS that you take in a job, right? It's just that moment when perhaps this young lady can quit beating herself up and being in that such a fearful place and walk through it in a different way. If that happens, it makes my journey so worthwhile in so many ways, right? But the reminder is that all the things that we go through in life, half of the benefit is what we get from going through it. And what's the other half, Nicole?
Sharing it.
Sharing it. Exactly
Yeah.
right. And this was a case, I didn't bring up the subject, right? She brought it up to me. But that to me is a God shot. That's God bringing her to me because he knows I can explain it to her in a way that probably no other human being could, right? I'm sure there's other people, but you know what I'm saying, right? So it's just it was a very special thing for me. I don't think I'll ever forget that experience. I don't think she will either, right? Here she is going into an electronics store to buy I think it was a cable she was buying, right? And she got advice that was so important to a journey she's walking through in fear.
Yeah.
And so what's the acronym of fear, Nicole?
Face everything and run.
Yeah. Face everything and recover, or forget everything and run, right?
Yeah, I mean, you want to keep
Fear
it.
is an illusion. There is nothing to fear, right? As I've shared on this call before on our power hour, the reality is none of us get out of this journey alive, right? But most people are so afraid of the inevitable that it stops them from living. I know a person who was diagnosed with a terminal disease, who decided that because they had that terminal disease, there was no sense of doing much of anything in life because you're not going to be here that long, right? But that stops you from enjoying the moments you have. It stops you from having the ability to share with another human being who might be going through something that you can help them with, right? And all of our days are numbered. Not one of us going to get out of this alive. So enjoy every single moment that you have, right? Have a lot of laughter in your life. Have a lot of smiling in your life, like my beautiful daughter's doing right now, right? God, she is so photogenic. I'm so jealous because, as I always say, God gave me nothing, right?
Now.
Yeah, well, I love self-deprecating humor. I think it's so wonderful. In all honesty, I really like what God gave me for gifts, right? And to me, they're very special. Although in my early years, when I was trying to pull myself out of that negative hole that I lived in, I didn't think I had any special qualities. I really meant it when I said that, I must have really pissed God off because he gave me nothing, right? Now I use it as a joke. And that's the great thing that happens when you start to develop some confidence in yourself, is you can actually joke about things like that would normally hurt you like crazy when you talk about it. So, my great gift is the way I care about people and my people skills. And I thought everybody had those. It took me a number of years, even after I started to wake up, to realize that no, not everybody has people skills. That's not what not everybody gets that, right? So there's that thing about the gifts, is that if you don't know what your gifts are, or if you don't acknowledge the gifts that God gave you, it's no different than a friend of yours handing you a gift that they had great joy and happiness in getting for you, and then giving it to you, and you just throwing it away and saying, it's a piece of junk. That's what we do to God when we don't acknowledge the gifts that he gave us, right? So I'm a firm believer that everybody has that special gift, whatever it is for you, right? Nicole has a way with people that's just amazing. I mean, everybody loves Nicole. My wife has that too. Everybody loves these women. They're just awesome people. And everybody has a gift. So, for Richard is so gifted. Oh my God, the kid can play almost any sport, right? He's I, I watched him Saturday night playing with Mom's all right. Mom's all right. Yeah, she's all right. I watched Richard playing with a young girl who was quite what's the word I want? Jubilant, shall we say? She was very rambunctious, and he had just a very gentle, easy way of working with her to where he didn't let her get hurt. He let her jump all over him, and he was just so special with the whole thing,
He
right?
was kind, yes.
Yes, he had a kindness about him through the whole thing. And I'm sure he would have been a lot happier if she'd have just sat down and relaxed a little bit, but that wasn't what she wanted. And evidently it wasn't what she needed, right? She needed to get that energy out. And Richard was just so gentle with her. It was just wonderful to watch. And that's the way he is. And as Melinda says here, he's such a great big brother. He loves his sissy so much. In fact, that was one of the other beautiful things we got to experience, is that Aurora loves Richard so much that she was being held by Kimmy, I think it was, and was bending over sideways trying to give her brother a kiss.
It was the cutest.
That was such a beautiful moment, right? And it's another reminder that love is the most important thing.
Yes.
And you see that in that family. You see it in all of that family, the love, right? And the things that kind of love creates. She's going to grow up with a very fond memory of family and her brother, and that bond will be there forever because of the way it's starting off, right? I mean, what a wonderful. I remember when my wife and I first got married and we got a dog. His name was Anami, right? Anami is in Hindu. Anami is a region of no name. It's so blissful that you can't even describe it. It's a region in the spiritual realms, right? And when we got the puppy, my mentor George asked Kate what she named him. And Kate says, well, we haven't named him yet. He goes, oh, no name. That's Anami. And that was how the dog got his name. Well, one day we're sitting on the couch and Kate says, what would our lives have been like if we grew up in the kind of positive environment that you and I are creating in our life now? And but look at how it's going to be for this dog. All he knows is love, right? And that's all we show him. And what would have been like if we'd have been raised in that kind of environment? As well, I don't know about your past, but that's the environment we're in now. So get used to it, because it's not going to change. And I don't believe in 30 years it did change, right? So love is the most important thing. And if soul is love, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I hope that story about the young lady in the store has some meaning for you. And what I wanted to carry out more about that is, if you remember for yourself that all of the experiences that you have had and that you've gone through, some may have been horrible, might have been the worst thing you'd ever been through, or may have been the most wonderful thing you've gone through. But all of those experiences, again, remember that only half of the benefits you get from it is what you learn from it or what you got from it, right? The other half comes from the sharing of it with other people. And you all have had those kinds of experiences that can make a world of difference to those around you if you can pull yourself out of self and put yourself into other people. To have that feeling of safeness that you can emanate from your own being, that people will feel that will draw them to you. You've all had that experience, I'm sure, when you walk up to somebody and they just don't feel very comfortable, right? And you want to like get the heck away from that person. And you've also had the experience of people that you've been around that made you just want to stay with those people because they just feel so good, right?
Yes.
Both of those are choices. We choose the energy that we put out. And as Nicole kindly mentioned, the best way to keep that energy anchored is with a whisper.
Yes.
Right? So, and I wanted to cover a little bit about that tonight because I'm doing some marketing work with some experts that went on my website and looked at it and says, by reading your website, we don't have any idea what it is you do, which I agree. I got to do some work on that, right? And we're going to work on that in the next couple of weeks. But what I wanted to share was why whispers are so important in the journey of discovery of self. And that is because since we were born, we've been taking on energy. People, places, and things, experiences that we have store inside our body, inside our mind, inside our emotions. And so for however many years you've been on this planet, you've been taking on energy. And now the world is more populated than ever. So all of the people that you are around all the time are also energetic beings who are emanating energy that hits your body and you absorb their energy, right? And so there's all this energy and you are an energetic being. The body doesn't go when you leave. Only the soul leaves, right? And that's energy. So what whispers do, whispers are made with just a piece of plastic that we mold into the shape that we've made it because this is a very comfortable shape for women to wear, mostly in their bras, because that's a pocket that works well for them. And also wearing it close to the heart is really important for women because that's your main energy center. And here Melinda says, my children drain my energy. Yeah, buddy, they're good at that. Absolutely. But by wearing these, the negative thoughts and feelings that we've taken on from our own experiences in life and the energy of other people that we've had in our lives and the people that we're surrounded around all the time, all of that energy can hit us and throw us out of balance. So by wearing these are a filter that take the subtle energy that comes to it and converts it to the positive spin energy that our body is made from. So when you start wearing these, you'll start to feel in the beginning, I think almost everybody that's put it on in the beginning goes, oh man, the feelings I had the first couple of weeks. You were going to share something.
No, it's yeah.
Yeah. It's, it's like sometimes it's tingly, sometimes it's strong, sometimes it's just subtle. It varies for everybody, but it's the release of that energy that makes such a difference in the way you feel. And more importantly than that, as much as that mind races out all the time and causes all that chaos that you go through, these gently bring that mind back to center. So it's not as hard to remember where you're supposed to be. And where you're supposed to be is in the present.
Yes.
Because the present is the gift from God. Right? It's where all the magic happens. It's where the miracles happen in life. But it's really hard to get there on your own. Because the mind just races out all the time, right? So that's what whispers are all about. It's releasing the energy that you absorb, because see, it's not about taking on new energy. It's like you'll see people that have copper bracelets and all that kind of stuff, and those actually absorb energy instead of releasing it, because it's just a receiver. It just receives energy in. These receive energy from this environment, you and within 50 feet around you, takes that energy and converts it to this positive, soft, coherent, smooth energy, which is different than the chaotic energy that comes from electricity and microwaves and negativity and all of those things that throw us out of balance. So, we talk about how some mornings you wake up and you're really excited and you're going to go out and conquer the world and everything's going to be great, right? And then you miss a traffic light, you get a ticket, and your whole day is ruined.
The whole
Kind
day.
of like that. Yeah, it's kind of like that with the thinking, right?
Yeah.
So you start wearing these. Now, two of the most difficult things I have had about this business, number one was how to explain it, and that's gotten much easier when we've gotten into the realm of the mind. And then the second thing that's difficult is getting people to realize they need to wear them every day. I can honestly tell you that I probably have had less than 2 handfuls of days in my 40 years that I haven't worn them. And every time that's happened, I would notice after a couple of days that I was out of sorts. I just felt off, right? And then I'd tap my pocket and I go, oh, no wonder. And I put them back on and right back to where I like to be, right? So that's what whispers do. And I wanted to share that tonight just to kind of get within myself the explanation that I want to put on video for people that have never heard about whispers or about subtle energy work or about any of those kinds of things. So the whispers, like I said, work on the people energy, but they also work on electromagnetic fields. And the important thing about that is that in our ancestors' days, the great mystics would go sit in a cave for months and meditate, raising their consciousness. And they would get such awareness that when they finally decided to come out of the caves, they would share miraculous stories with everyone they met. But then what would happen is because they're back out in the world again, their consciousness lowered more and more and more until they became just like normal people again, right? But when you allow your consciousness to raise, the experiences that you have and the gifts that you're given as you raise your consciousness are just phenomenal. And so to meditate, and that's again back in the day when you didn't have electricity and you didn't have 10,000 people next door to you, right? And you didn't have cars and microwaves and televisions and radios and computers and all of this stuff that's causing sensory overwhelm for everybody. That's what whispers do for you, is they clear that energy out so that you can live. In my years of doing this, I've met people that were so sensitive that they had a hard time working out in the world. It was just the energy it would be like so harsh to them because they're extra sensitives, and there are spiritual people that have that experience. But they would put whispers on or another device, the ones that I started with, that they would put those on and they'd feel okay. They could work among the world, right? So that's the importance of whispers, is why it's so important to wear them all the time, because you're in this environment all the time. And so that's enough about whispers tonight. All right. So thank you for that lead in, by the way, Nicole. That was very kind of you. And for those of you that don't have whispers yet, go to justwhisper.net and sign up for our whisper tips, and that'll get you into our all of the information we're putting together to send out to everybody. And you're going to see a lot of marketing materials coming very soon. I'm very excited about the direction we're heading in, and I'm looking forward to making a lot of wonderful things happen this year. So let's see what we have here. I've noticed these past 5 or so years, I've become more claustrophobic and felt overwhelmed whenever I was around a lot of people. Yeah. And that's exactly what happens, is that this environment is just so harsh for everybody, right? And, what we want to be is spiritual warriors, right? Where we can just, you know, fill the world with love, right? And that's such a strong, powerful energy, right? And these are tools that you can wear to make it comfortable for you to be out in there and be around a lot of people and have a free life, right? Can you imagine God going, "Oh, I can't go out there. There's too many people." No, I don't think so. All right. But yes, that's what happens to sensitive people, is that stuff bothers them more than it does people that are kind of walking around half dead. Right? So, the positive power hour is about positivity, right?
Yes,
We are
indeed.
we are going to conquer the life that we want to have because we deserve to have that. It's our inherited right to have the abundance of life. God is abundance. God is not lack of anything, right?
Not in
So
the box.
yeah. So the more
Abundant.
we recognize that God is that energy flowing through us, and we use that for positive in the world, it has to come back. It's a universal law. In fact, we already know we can't outgive God, right?
That's
But it
right.
sure is fun trying.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to stop a little early tonight, but I just wanted again to give you that story to remind you that whatever you've gone through in your life, those are gifts for you. And then once you've received the gift, the other half is to share it, right?
Yes.
So that's the thought for the day, is to embrace the experiences that you've had, good or bad. Really, there is no good and there is no bad. It's the judgment that you've put on it, right? But every experience has such wonderful lessons in it for you and for other people. And it's great if you learn the lesson, but even greater if you help other people learn the lesson.
Yes.
So as we always finish our power hour with Nicole, if you see somebody without a smile, what should you do?
Give them one of yours. They're free.
They're free. That's right. That's right. So until next week, everybody, keep working towards those dreams of yours, right? And if you hear your mind telling you you can't or you won't or whatever the mind's telling you, saying thank you for sharing, but here's what I want you to think instead. Direct your mind just like it's your child, right? You don't beat the child up because they're doing something you don't want them to do. You just gently guide them in a better direction, right? And that's what we have to do with that wayward child that is our mind. We have to train the mind to feed us the information that we need to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. And that reminds me of one final thing I'll mention. It's about, how when you try to think of something like somebody's name or an actor or a house or whatever, and you can't remember the name or the event that you want, if you say to yourself, "Oh, I can't remember," guess what?
You're not going to remember.
Not going to remember. So instead, say, "It's coming to me. My mind will feed me the answer." And then let it go. And within a minute or two, you'll get the answer. It's amazing. I've seen it happen so many times that I know it's absolutely true. Just because if you try to get the answer, if you try to remember, trying is like being a little bit pregnant, right? Can't be a little bit pregnant. So if we just go with ease and direct the mind to provide the answer will come.
Yes.
I went through so many times working on a car where I was having so much trouble making something work. And if I would just stop and walk away from it for a minute, the energy would calm and the solution would come. It always worked. It was amazing. So anyway, If you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours. They're free. Love you all. Glad you're here, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great week.
Yep.